Before I say more, I would like to ask all of you to stand up from your seat and remember our heroic men and women, young and old, prominent political leaders, fighters, and anonymous citizens who have fallen in the hands of successive Ethiopian tyrannical rule. For 1 minute, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in my short speech following, I will try to assess the social, political, and economic situation of Ethiopia and the struggle for justice and freedom in the view of liberation movement. As a kickoff, let me drive you back to history. I have no any intention to adhere to the history and holding you back on past deeds, but it is to indicate that the problem of today's Ethiopia is the unresolved problem created in the 19th century and the colonial making and the institutions that shaped the status quo then after. The policy of the ruling consecutive regimes that followed political oppression, social discrimination, economic exploitation have always been vehemently resisted by our people. Liberation movements and the democratic forces at different places and different instances. For the last 23 years, the most part of Ethiopian peoples and we as liberation fronts or movements are at war with TPLF-led EPRDF government. After joining forces such as OLF, ONLF, SLF, and others were forced out of transitional government in 1992, EPRDF conducted 5 national elections in 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, and 2015, and 1 constituent assembly and various local elections. The international community observers witnessed that neither of these was free and fair. But by doing so, EPRDF claimed that it has transformed the Ethiopian state from authoritarian, ethnically dominated empire and command economy to democratic society and a free market economy. While in reality, they conducted a sham and a forced bogus election in which the TPLF-centered EPRDF is still controlling the political and economic life of the country. The outcome of these elections show how TPLF-EPRDF established its hegemony and became single vanguard party, or as it calls itself, our party. In 1992, TPLF-EPRDF claimed to have won 96% of the votes that aimed for establishing elected local and regional administrations. 18 years later, in the 2010 national election, TPLF-led EPRDF claimed another landslide victory with 99.6%, and this year, 2015, 100%. Today, there is no distinction between state ruling party, that is TPLF and EPRDF, and the government. It created organizations, leaders, and vanguard elites that spreads and imposed by force parties' ideology and interest. All the security organs of the state, the Ethiopian National Defense Force, the Federal Police, the Rapid Response Force, or as they call it, Fatno Darash, regional police, and the local militia are all led by TPLF, EPRDF loyalists. All are not to defend public, but to defend the ruling power against the opposition, like it was during Dark and Imperial regime. For instance, Oromo students protested in various towns across Oromia in the wake of Addis Ababa master plan, and the last year have been met with a brutal repression by the federal police and other security organs. Similarly, the continuous act of Liyu police in Ogaden and the eastern Oromia was only designed to silence the Ogadeni and Oromo peoples. Ladies and gentlemen, ever since the Ethiopian Empire State took its present form, change in government always emanated from the barrel of the gun rather than the ballot of votes. Opposition to the state has always remained a deadly business. Thus, the only recourse for a serious opposition is to resort to armed resistance without its will. This phenomenon has created a cyclical vicious circle. In the international community and all democratic forces vest a credible interest to end that cycle. They need to collaborate with the genuine forces such as PAFD so that the will of the people be respected and the right of self-determination will be materialized. However, the trend of oppression followed by the TPLF-led EPRDF government has already reached its climax and has become worrying. As a consequence, accumulated repressive measures, one can easily tell that the current regime is leading the peoples down the road of civil disobedience and the civil arrest that could go out of control anytime soon. The cost of such thing would be immense, resulting danger on human security and indeed that is undesirable. Regarding our concern and attempt for peace, after the Charter Agreement of 1991 was drained by the TPLF, organizations like OLF and the SLF and the others repeatedly showed their willingness either jointly or unilaterally to solve the problem through dialogue for the benefit of all the people in the empire. However, all attempts failed because of lack of willingness from TPLF side. TPLF-led EPRDF has several times declared that it has eliminated and swept out the OLF and the ONLF and other democratic forces from Ethiopia. It also contrarily issued statements and openly accused all the parliament frequently that the OLF, ONLF and the others are the major factor for stability in the country and designated them as terrorists in May 2010 session of the parliament. It ironically also called on media for negotiation with OLF and ONLF, but has practically run away from negotiations. Ladies and gentlemen, the Horn of Africa is currently known to the world because of the 5 main conflict zones. Darfur in northwest Sudan, Sudan and the South Sudan border conflict, conflict in South Sudan between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar, Ethio-Eritrean border conflict, and the situation in Somalia. The major, but the undeclared war also is within the Ethiopian Empire State. While TPLF-led EPRDF asserts that it is cooperating with the US in the war against terrorism, the overwhelming focus on stemming terrorism is overshadowing US initiative to resolve conflicts and promote good governance in Ethiopia like elsewhere in conflict zones. As a result, today, US financed TPLF government is in the highest phase of totalitarian regime. The Pentagon has been training Ethiopian troops for counter-terrorism operation for several years from Djibouti campus, including Ethiopian Special Forces called Agazi Commandos. However, the EPRDF forces abused the training given, and it became very barbarian to the civilian peoples in Ethiopia. Ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia is the main actor in all of the conflicts and the turmoil in the whole to overshadow its problem. Fragile States Index of Educate Trends, released by Foreign Policy Magazine and the Fund for Peace from 2006 to 2050, shows that Ethiopia is in a group of some worsening with current rank of 20. The only source of this temporary stability of the current Ethiopia rests on the regime's total control over the military and the security forces, and its readiness to use is without hesitation. We believe, for the sake of human security, there is an urgent need to find peaceful, legal, and a negotiated solution to the conflict in the empire. Allowing the conflict to fester will lead to adverse consequences for the entire region in the Horn of Africa. Today, almost half of Ethiopia's population live in absolute poverty. Each year, millions face serious food insecurity. Commodity prices shocks, exacerbated chronic food insecurity caused by policy-related failures that include dependence on subsistence farming, land tenant, weak markets, poor infrastructure, and the reliance on external food aid. Ethiopia relies on development assistance for 40% of its public sector spending and is likely to remain heavily dependent for many years to come. Ethiopia's long-term debt sustainability is extremely fragile. The country's ratio of exports to GDP is very low, and exports are concentrated on coffee, a commodity whose price is currently below the average of its price from 1972 to 2015. Safe drinking water is available to just 50% of the rural population. Despite its formally capitalist economy, the Ethiopian government places endless barriers in the way of any investor who seeks to establish a business in the country. The startup time for obtaining the necessary licenses and the legal status is one of the longest in Africa. Besides EPRDF affiliated Sheikh Alamuddin Medrock Business Empire, TPLF-led EPRDF also monopolizes a number of parastatal enterprises spread across every significant area of the economy, which are owned by the ruling party and enjoy significant advantages and privileges. This makes the market uncompetitive. Ethiopia's Economic Freedom Index 2015 is ranked 37th out of 46 countries in the sub-Saharan African region, and its overall score continues to be below regional average. Ethiopia is a signatory in the state party of most conventions and covenants regarding the respect of human rights. However, it remained an open secret that Ethiopia itself to its ratified covenants and to the Constitution of Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Freedom House Report 2015 score status not free and the freedom rating of civil and political rights to be 6. That means not free. The regime masked its real nature behind rhetoric democratic white papers which are solely designed to attract the goodwill of and the necessary support from Western powers. Indeed, the true picture of the Tigray People's Liberation Front-led Ethiopian government is different. Since it came to power, its conduct regarding human rights violation is characterized by mass massacre, extrajudicial killings, arbitrary arrest, torture, displacement, and the forced conscription of the productive forces to non-ending wars on political opponents. It is not difficult to mention political leaders, members of independent press, human rights groups, and civic society organizations, along with thousands of students and other innocent civilians of Ethiopia who are arbitrarily held by the government. This repetitive human rights violation has been exposed by the State Department and other credible national and international rights organizations. Genocide Watch, in its report released on 12th of March 2013, considered Ethiopia to have already reached stage 7 genocidal massacres against many of its peoples, including the Anuak, Ogaden, Oromo, and the Omo tribes. Among many others, the right of speech, the right of press, and the right of free association count to the principal human rights universally documented as a yardstick for a democratic system. Neither of these rights are practical in Ethiopia. On top of imprisoning and banning sovereign journalists, the incumbent minority government in Ethiopia jams radios and blocks global internet access. This situation of human rights abuse is not limited to the territory of Ethiopia. It extends to neighboring countries. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to pinpoint two methods that successive Ethiopian regimes were using systematically to uproot the peoples from their territory. First, sexual violation against women. Rape committed during war is often intended to terrorize the population, break up families, destroy communities, and in some instances, to change the ethnic makeup of the next generation. It has been witnessed by the victims that the Ethiopian government security forces use rape to deliberately infect women with HIV or render women from the targeted community incapable of bearing children. In rural areas, when OLF armed forces are operating, after any combat, unlawful killings, gang rape, torture, beating, and the abuse and the mistreatment of the nearby villages by security forces is quite common. The soldiers have collected young Oromo, Ogaden, Gambela girls and women into their campus or base and gang rape them in front of their relatives, fathers, brothers, and husbands. This is done to humiliate and demoralize the women and the people. Second, land grabbing. Today, large mass of land leased for their government-backed private investors from Oromia, Gambela, Benishangul, and the South for agricultural production to their country. Similarly, in blocks, portioned land from Ogaden is also leased for oil exploration to various oil companies. Actually, marginalizing the South has always been systematic when it comes to land use. After analyzing the imperial political system, one of the famous historians on Ethiopia, John Markakis, noted nearly 50 years ago that, I quote, the southern peasantry which found itself on a land claimed by the state lost whatever rights it held traditionally over the land. The people were transferred into Gabbar, that is a term denoting servant or simple subject of the state, while those in the north had secure rights over their land. Under TPLF-EPRDF, peasants are not only denied to use the land for farming, but also forced to stay away from the land. Unlike the imperial regime that allowed at least working them as serfs on the confiscated land. In doing so, the existing regime is using land as means of political maneuver. In various media interviews, TPLF-EPRDF officials glorified their discriminatory land use policy, which divides the country into south and the north. They argue their government is applying these two extremes because of landscape and availability of ideal land. However, ironically, the TPLF government is favoring the north by giving absolute land security to the citizens, while the people in the south are treated differently by calling the area a zone of no man, even though it is in reality inhabited by the people. Typical example is Gambela, where people are evicted from their land forced for villagization. Ladies and gentlemen, before I sum up, let me shed light on some of liberation movement's activities, be it unilateral or multilateral action. Besides the organizational and armed struggle we pursue at home, in the field of diplomacy, despite the futile attempts of TPLF to portray to international communities that OLF and ONLF were a terrorist organization, we won the confidence of international community in addressing the nature of our people's claim of self-determination as a genuine cause. We have tried to reach the international community through our foreign offices and representatives abroad. Your effort in diaspora in promoting our cause in an organized form has registered appreciable scores. I hope you will stay united and do your share so that the struggle for justice by the courageous peoples, you will bring more our cause on the agenda of the international community. Ladies and gentlemen, as OLF, we also have a special concern to set mutual understanding and coordinating different Oromo political forces. OLF always believes that the fate of the Oromo people is one and the same. Consequently, we are progressing well and need more to do to resolve our internal differences in candid and cordial manner. I say here once again to my fellow Oromos, our differences are secondary and normal that emanate from different of tactics, perceptions, and the methods that can be resolved in the process of the struggle. Some of these differences will remain on board with us as it is the nature of healthy society to debate all issues. This also works well for all oppressed peoples in Ethiopia. Ladies and gentlemen, PFD is for peace. However, peace can only be attained when all shareholders show willingness to resolve the conflict at hand and begin to negotiate in good faith. I have shown just a few examples to demonstrate that TPLF-led EPRDF is neither for peace, equality, and freedom nor for democracy. It is an unstable, paranoid regime that relies on nothing but force and violence. On the other hand, the PAFD, of which OLF is one of the founding members, is calling all shareholders, including EPRDF, for political dialogue to formulate a comprehensive solution for the problems that the empire is facing. We finally believe that the problem in the country can be solved through peaceful and democratic deliberations if all are agreed not to use force. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever factors contributed for the TPLF-led EPRDF party to exist on power, it will fail for the mismatch policy like all its predecessors. Its fall will be hastened if all forces opposing this tyrannical system cooperate with one another on the basis of mutual respect, interest, and equality. History demonstrates that only the politically and culturally conscious, determined, and organized peoples achieve political victory. I summon all my fellow oppressed peoples and any democratic forces to get effectively organized and join PAFD for your own cause and coordinate your knowledge and resources to bring long-lasting peace and justice to all peoples of the Ethiopian Empire State and the whole. Victory to the masses, peace shall prevail.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tolera.